All right, intermittent fasting. We get asked all the time about intermittent fasting, and it's pretty popular. A lot of people will throw it out there. If you want to lose weight, do intermittent fasting. And it can become very complicated when you look at it from the surface. But let's take a step back and let's just look at what fasting is and how long it's been implemented by humans. A lot of times in the past, we've referencing fasting to religious reasons. Ramadan, the idea that you fast during the day as the sun is up, and then you eat when the sun goes down. If you look throughout history at Christianity, Buddhism, all the rest of Hindu, you see that there's going to be some form of spiritual fasting or some sort of spiritual gain through the act of fasting. And today, in 2021, we refer to intermittent fasting as a way for us to lose weight, boost our metabolism. But how does it actually work? And what happens when we're eating on a regular basis? We wake up in the morning and we have breakfast and we have a snack and we hit a drive-through and we have another snack and then we go home, we eat dinner, and then we eat ice cream at night. What tends to happen is we start affecting our ability to produce insulin, what's called insulin resistance. And insulin resistance happens when you're basically bombarding your system and telling it needs to produce insulin. So what even is insulin? Insulin is the hormone that's secreted in the body when you take in food, normally in the form of carbohydrates or sugars, and your insulin levels will increase in your body, signaling to your body that it needs to start converting all that sugar. And it's either going to be stored as glycogen, it'll be used up by the brain in the form of free-flowing glucose, or it could be even stored in fat cells. And what happens over time, if you're constantly bombarding yourself with excessive amounts of sugar, you fall into a place known as insulin resistance. And that's just saying that your body doesn't have what it needs to continue to give you the insulin necessary to use and store all this excess sugar. And then what happens is, over time, if we continue to do that, we create type 2 diabetes, and now we're having to take insulin injections. And when we're taking insulin injections, we are artificially, anytime you're putting a hormone in your body that's not being created, it's due to a deficit. However, science shows that type 2 diabetes can actually be reversed. Now, how is this? We need to drum up some insulin sensitivity. And how do we do this? Well, insulin sensitivity, is going to come from not having a high demand on your body to produce insulin in the first place. So how do we do this? Fasting. Now, before we get into fasting though, let's talk about how insulin makes you feel. Have you ever eaten a big meal and then you just want to crash? Maybe you had some barbecue one night and you had a bunch of coleslaw and a whole bunch of potato salad and some biscuits and cornbread and all that good stuff, and then followed it down with some banana pudding. It's one of my favorite combinations of trash food, but I tell you, they call it soul food for a reason. And when you get done eating that, your insulin levels are through the roof, It makes you tired. If you've ever been around someone that has type 2 diabetes, you'll notice that if their sugar gets too high, you're gonna get very frustrated. You're gonna just feel very uncomfortable until they get that insulin injection, but then they're gonna wanna go to sleep. Insulin will start the process of slowing down your body so it can metabolize the food correctly, and by doing so will put you in a state of relaxation, right? Now, what happens when you start getting away from that and you start looking at increasing your insulin sensitivity, fasting can become a wonderful way of helping you create more energy. And also it'll help you think because you don't feel like shit, And how do we do this? Intermittent fasting is very, very simple, It's not a very complicated system. However, just like in religious practice, it requires a lot of discipline. And I think that's why, religion has looked at intermittent fasting or fasting in general, as a way of creating a sense of spirituality within yourself, and it was through the practice of discipline. And it's very difficult. It's not very easy to go on an 8-hour span during your day and not eat food. A lot of times we won't even drink water. However, when I focus on intermittent fasting, I'm a big proponent of drinking water throughout the day, because most of the time when people start, they're relatively dehydrated anyway. So the way this stuff works, when you wake up in the morning, well, first you got to set up a couple things. First, you got to set up how many calories a day your body needs to either lose weight or at least maintain where you are. If you're trying to gain weight, I wouldn't recommend intermittent fasting. I don't think it's a very good idea if you're trying to gain weight. But if you're trying to lose some weight and you're trying to create some insulin sensitivity, maybe you're a pre-diabetic, or maybe you have type 2 diabetes, and if you do, this isn't medical advice, this is just my opinion and my observation of what's worked for people in the past. I've had a lot of family members come down with type 2 diabetes. Some ended their life early because of it, and it's a tough place to be in, especially with something that can be reversible, and that is scientific fact. Type 2 diabetes can be reversed. So anyway, how do we do intermittent fasting? Let's get to it. So first, we need to figure out what our base level of calorie intake is that we're going to need to accomplish to reach our calorie goals. So that way we're not completely killing our appetite and we're still getting nutritious food into our body. So we need to pick a window of time. And a lot of people will tell you that this window is better than this window. And a window of time is really just saying, I'm going to eat during this time and I'm not going to eat during this time. That's really all it is. What happens within those windows is what matters the most, though, because when you are fasting, what tends to happen is your appetite will actually decrease. You won't be as hungry the longer you do it in the beginning, or after the beginning. Because in the beginning, it's the challenge is actually not eating during that time, because your appetite's going to be revved up. But over time, you're going to start noticing your appetite decreases. And if you give yourself a super long window, like I've seen like 16 hours where you don't eat, and you have an 8-hour window where you do eat, that's a lot for a beginner to take on, and I'm not going to recommend you do that. So the way I'm going to approach this is, if you're a beginner, you're paying attention to this, which I'm assuming you are, because if not, you probably already knew about intermittent fasting. The way I want to lay this down is, one, we need to find out what your base level of calories is, okay, and whether or not you want to gain weight or whether or not you want to lose weight. And then we need to write that number down. Now, I can drop a link down below for an online chart that can help you figure those numbers and specifics out. From there, if you want to lose weight, I would just take off 100 calories to start. And if you want to maintain, just do what it says. Check your weight on every week to 2 weeks, because you will see results doing this pretty quickly. And then we need to set a window. So when we set our window, I want you to think about, what time do I wake up every day? What does my natural circadian rhythm look like right now? Though we might want to make some improvements on it, but at the end of the day, I want to know what you're doing on a daily basis that's not going to hinder your overall schedule. So let's just hypothetically say that you go to bed around 11 o'clock and you wake up at 7 a.m. That's an 8-hour time period where you're not eating, you are asleep. I do consider this part of your fasting period, okay? So 11 to 7, 8 hours. What we're gonna do from there is count that towards our fasting time, okay? So when you wake up in the morning, drink some water, okay? And you don't eat anything. Don't eat anything, because we're gonna set that window of eating starting at 12 o'clock. So what does that give us? That gives us 8 to 7, 7 to 12 is 5, so that's 13 hours. So we're gonna have a 13-hour period that we're not taking in any calories, no food at all. And that'll put us at a 12 o'clock start time, okay? And I wanna take that time, and let's say that from 12 to somewhere around 9 p.m., you have to get in all your calories. And not more, just that baseline. And we're gonna do this through proper food selection. We want to have a very dense protein content, a moderate to low carbohydrate intake, and then we want to get a lot of our calories in through fat. Now, why am I telling you fat over a low to moderate carbohydrate intake? It's not because I believe in the keto diet or anything like that. It's because fat does not spike insulin the same way sugar spikes insulin, okay? The body treats these two macronutrients differently. You can eat fat to get your calories and still have a relatively low impact on your actual insulin production, which is extremely important when we're trying to build up our insulin sensitivity. Okay, you following me? So during this time period of 12 to, let's say, 6, 7 p.m. when you get home from work, let's say 7 p.m. you start cooking dinner and you eat at 8 p.m. At 8 p.m., when that meal's completed, I would love to just simply see some chicken breast and some broccoli, some steak and some broccoli, something along those lines. If you don't eat meat, intermittent fasting is going to be challenging for you. I would recommend pursuing a different direction, because the amount of carbohydrates and stuff that you have to take in to hit your calories when you don't eat meat is a little bit difficult. But I guess it can be done. If you've done it, maybe let me know. But this is for people that do eat meat. So think about it like this. If we take in steak, we have fat and we have protein. If we have broccoli, we have a very moderate to low amount of carbohydrates coming in, but this meal is extremely nutrient dense, okay? Meaning you're gonna get a lot of nutrients from this meal, okay? That's gonna help you, okay, lose weight and improve on your overall endocrine system regarding insulin, okay? Now, when you start the day off with your first meal, this is when you're gonna wanna take in the carbohydrate, the most carbohydrates that you're gonna have for all your subsequent meals. So when you're going into your first meal, again, I'd like to see a base of, some type of protein. You can do eggs, you can do chicken, steak, pork chops, you could do really whatever protein source you want. And then maybe have some rice, right? Maybe have some potatoes would be fine. Sweet potatoes would be amazing right here. Let's see, what else do we really like? No mac and cheese or anything like that. That stuff's good, but if you're really focused on getting results, you don't want to eat a bunch of trash carbohydrates. So keep it with sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, rice, brown rice, white rice, and those sources for that first meal. And then as a snack, something I love to promote to everyone, if you just need something as a staple, which I recommend this becoming a staple, is yogurt, Greek yogurt, and granola. Okay, it's a great snack, highly dense in protein. All right, if you get a good granola, it's going to have really good carbohydrates in it, and have that as your snack. Now, after that, right, we want to start cutting out all those carbohydrates following that. And this is going to probably be around 5 o'clock in the afternoon before you go home. Maybe have a protein shake that doesn't have any sugar in it. A protein shake will be good now. Maybe you hit your workout afterwards. And then when you go home to have dinner, again, we're going to have chicken, we're going to have steak, we're going to have pork, we're going to have some type of meat as a base, right? And then we're going to have vegetables on the side, whatever they want, whatever you want them to be. But just follow that. So at 12 o'clock, right, go ahead and have some chicken, some type of meat, have some broccoli, have some rice, snack, try some yogurt and granola. For dinner, for another snack, have a protein shake. That'll just be enough to kind of curb the appetite. I'd let you get home and cook dinner. And then when you get home, again, have that staple of having a base of protein with vegetables. Now that should be putting your window closing around 8, 9 p.m. Okay? Maybe we don't make it all the way to that 11 marker, but I want to keep that buffer time in there. If you're able to add an extra 2 hours in the afternoon from, okay, my window of time is I go to bed at 11 to 7 a.m. That's 8 hours of fasting, but I actually ate my last meal at 9. Well, that just gave you 2 more hours of fasting, right? That's good. But what I want you to also do is consider your change in your eating routine. So your appetite might actually change. So if you notice that like you're just not hungry in the afternoon because you have this smaller window to eat within, and this is why I'm not a big proponent of really big windows of not eating and really small windows of eating in the beginning, right? Because we can narrow that down over time to gain more results out of it. Excuse me. So what I want you to try to think about is I'm not going to eat anything from the time I wake up until 12 o'clock. And at 12 o'clock, I'm going to focus on having protein, a carbohydrate, and a vegetable, okay? And then I want you to have yogurt, cottage cheese, some type of snack that's going to be protein dense with low to moderate carbohydrate intake and high protein. And I want you to have that as a snack, and then have a protein shake or some other form of intake. You can do the yogurt again, that's fine too. But when you get home, again, no carbohydrates, just simply steak, chicken, pork, something like that, and a vegetable. That's it. And drink a whole bunch of water, at least a gallon of water a day, somewhere around that. This will help reset your system, and you will thank yourself, and hopefully you'll give me a thank you for as well if you take this on and try it. And if you want help, I'm happy to help you along in this process. I've done intermittent fasting for a long time. Anytime I've wanted to cut down in weight, anytime I wanted to drop some body fat, my go-to is intermittent fasting. So give it a shot. Let me know how it goes for you. And remember, I'll drop the links down below for your so you can calculate out your own calories and set your calorie goal for that window of that window. So I hope that helps. If it did, let me know. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And I'm going to drop a link in the text section of this post if you want a more in-depth consultation to kind of see where you are and what might be the best route moving forward, and also to help answer any questions that I may not have answered for you here. Follow that link, fill out the form, and we'll be in touch with you. There's no obligation to sign up or anything. We will have a conversation via text or email, and if you decide you want to work with us, we're happy to get you on programming. We have options as low as $22 a month that include coaching, programming, nutrition, and everything. So if you feel like that's something that can help you, please reach out to us. We love coaching, we love helping people, and we love promoting a sense of freedom in your life. You want to have the more control you have over your health, and the more free that you're going to feel on a day-to-day, because you're going to feel better. You don't want to feel like you're bound down to a couch because you just binged out on trash food and you just want to live your life in front of a television in the evenings and watch your body deteriorate as time progresses. We want to live and feel free, and that comes from having health, and it comes from being able to do things that we want to do without hindrance from our body. Our bodies are here to enhance our experience here, not to take away from. And eating right is difficult, it's challenging, it's hard, it is, and it doesn't have to be super strict. But if you're binging out all the time, you're eating garbage, the life that leads you to is also very difficult. Okay, so I hope this got something sparked in you, some motivation, kind of get on the right path, get moving, because we're always trying to find that right direction of what way to go in. And sometimes we need to stop these actions and start doing more of these actions to help get us forward, right? It's not always a straight linear path. Sometimes we fall off, sometimes we make mistakes. But if you're looking to lose weight, if you're looking to get your nutrition back under control, then try what I just talked about in this video, and reach out if you have any questions so you can gain more clarity on what you need to do moving forward. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I look forward to working with you in the future.